I'm doing a longer video on a Holley emissions carburetor. So I just, if you run one of these carburetors, you might find that it's way too lean. So I altered my exhaust and I major altered my intake, and I'm pulling more air at idle. And I can't make the adjustments. So check out my video. I got copper wires, 22,000 wires stuck into my idle passages. So no matter what I try, these are reverse idle. So if you hear about a reverse idle carb, you're going to have something, the exact same shit going on or some degree of it. So that screw, turning it in, richens it. So knowing that, I had this thing full turned in and still had to put my fingers in the carburetor to get it anywhere near 20 inches of vacuum, or where I could turn an idle down and have it. If you hear that, that's much better. It's still not there. You can see the plug wires and shit. She's still dancing around some. We'll go around it here. I got a few minutes. I have actual setup. So these have there's a jet in the base plate that I'm going to show you here. But just so you can have a good idea. You can't really hear it. Let's see, my exhaust is 3-inch low restricted glass packs, and it's the shortest line of sight out. So between the exhaust and the spacer and the little bit high-rise intake, it made a difference. It does not take much with these carburetors. They're not really made to be messed with on the idle screws and things. I'm going to show you why in a sec, but you can kind of hear her bopping around. So I'm going to shut it off here. Here's something cool while I'm shutting it off. I got my fuel pumps run on here. Here's my Stewart Warner vacuum gauge sitting in my trans tunnel, so that'll be cool for tuning. Yeah, okay. We'll go around with this is probably the greatest Holley carb fucking video ever done. I say that about everyone I do, but this is probably it here. So Holley carb, guys, get an old book. Get an old one. And I know it's outdated shit, but get an old one, get a new one. Different information from different times. So this page here is really useful. I'm going to leave it here, and feel free to pause frame and take this in for a sec. This is every single passage in your metering block labeled and explained, if you didn't know. Most people know everything, so the hell with it. Okay, so where do I start here? Put my tool on this so don't blow away. Base plate, this is a standard 4160 Holley, and if you look down the center of this, okay, she's blank. The one I have in my truck has a jet in it, and it's one of these. It's just a standard idle air bleed jet, right? Okay. So and what that jet does over here, normally these are blank. So, and I was questioning what this is. I did a video, and a smart fellow who was on the same wave of thinking I did was thinking about Holley Ultras and very, very, very old Holleys. You pull the air cleaner stud out, put a screwdriver down in there, and here's kind of a cutaway. Down in the bottom here on this is an adjustable idle air bypass, they call it. So right here. Now, I don't have that assembly. These emissions carbs don't, but they do have a jet in the bottom. So why is the jet there? It's got to be there for a reason. They ain't giving you brass for free. This is an air chamber here, and there's a very small passage right in your venturis, and what happens is this is allowed to pull air. That air follows this kind of shape. Here's your idle air bleeds out the top. Okay, so standard Holleys just come ding, 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 and they come down and they help siphon the fuel, and they mix in the idle well, and they come down to your idle air transfer slot and your idle air adjusting needle down here, right? So idle needle down, transfer slot up, okay? These have a jet, and with mine, this is extra air, okay? And this is to eliminate kind of your tunability. This is to kind of slap you on the hand so that you don't get it too rich. So what I did was I stuck copper just to kind of give me an idea. Stick it down, make sure I can even make this fucking thing run, and make sure that this idle air passage is congruent with my problem, and it is. So in knowing that, I did a little bit of research, and this air bleed here, I'm going to pull the carburetor off and I'm going to start messing with that. Now, Some people will get in, and you can get in here number 6, and number 6 here, number 6 here, okay, on either side. That's where your idle air bleed comes down. Okay, it comes down into the carburetor, does a 90, comes out through the number 6, feeds into the number 6. There's a restrictor here. So guys get into the metering blocks and start playing around with the restrictors here. And I could do that. But you just heard how the truck was running, and there, with the restriction I put in, it's a little overkill. And what happens is, if you overkill this restrictor, because my idle air bleeds are not that big. They're not massively big to start with, because they're supplemented. This is a supplementary air passage, right? So, right? And if you do what I did, then it really fights to siphon, and you get this just kind of just what it's doing right now. And I could get into fine tweaking it out, and I'm gonna, but instead of getting into here, because I mean, you could get into this, and you could thread tap this, or even trickier would be this one, right? But you get in with a drill, open this up to countersink and air bleed, same here, and then you're playing with adjustments and on off with the, right? And we can go down that road, but first I'm gonna fuck around down here. So I've got an extra set of jets just to kind of demonstrate, and I can bend wire to stick it in there. And I also have one of these that I sacrificed. I have JB Weld just to totally block it off. So completely block this off through the bottom and completely eliminate this and see what it does. And if it's too much, then I can take it out, and I can, I don't have a really small size, but I can restrict the one that's in there and bend wire so that it's looped in and looped tight, so that the wire can't fall in or out, and it stays. It creates a restriction to get us what we need. So again, this is they're kind of a weird carburetor, and I did find some people who had problems, and they either call or quits with leaving the copper wire in there, which don't do that, because it'll vibrate out, and it also makes it run like shit. Or you can get in here and start fine tuning on your metering blocks, or your throttle body, or your metering block passage. This comes in at an angle, so this is a trickier one to modify. And right, so before I get anywhere near that, I'm going to start pissing around down here. Seems to be the right move. But old Holley books, again, freeze frame if you need or want. Vital Holley information, there it is. Bing, free of charge, on paper. No subscription needed. Actually, yeah, you should fucking subscribe. You should subscribe and send this to all your goddamn friends and make me millions of dollars. That would be nice. Anyway, I'm going to keep going on this. So finally got something good happening with this engine and the way it runs. So perfect.